this lively creature comes in, wags the tail, and it changes, lowers the stress, changes just everything.
Are you ready to live your best life, make healthy choices, have success, have fun, and still have time for everything else? I'm here to teach you how to do that, and we'll all learn together from guests along the way as well. Follow along for some powerful tips on cultivating gratitude, making healthy choices for mind and body, and having fun doing it. What if all the angst and worry actually don't help? Oh my goodness, let's keep learning how to do this differently. OMG. Hello, my friends. As you know, this podcast is all about living well without all the angst, all the worry, and we talk about healthy shifts, healthy habits, mindset, success. Today is a new topic, and it fits right in with the concept of living well and using every avenue and creative innovation we can to live happily. And I am really fascinated to see how therapy dogs make a difference, from what we traditionally think of as seeing eye or a guide dog, all the way to really interesting medical services, behavioral services, and all kinds of new things. So I'm excited to talk about that. And let me introduce my guest to you. So Dr. Barb Vokatis has 30 years of experience in the educational field internationally. Right now, she's an associate professor in an upstate New York college teaching current teachers and future teachers. And in 2018, she and her dog got certified as a therapy dog team with Therapy Dogs International. And so they've been visiting local school. She's published 2 books about therapy dogs, one about her journey to getting certified, and then another one about the benefits of dog therapy. And actually right now has 2 books coming out. So I will make sure that in the show notes, you get the links for these, because that's really important. One is a children's book, and another one is about therapy collaborations to make a difference for children. I will put all her links in the show notes so that you can find her, because those sound amazing and are literally coming out right now. So hello.
Hi, thank you so much.
As I said, I'm a dog lover, and I'm just really fascinated by this subject. You're working a lot with therapy dogs, with your dog in particular. So tell us how you got involved with this.
I would pretty much should say that it really happened accidentally, because we decided to get a dog at a certain time. My daughter was approaching 10 years old, and we didn't really have time so much for the dog. We knew that dogs require some time. It's a commitment, but we thought, well, she's 10 years old already. I think it's time for like a family puppy. And I had a little bit of time at this time. So we got our dog. Her name is Carmel, and we never had a golden doodle, but somehow we just fell in love with her as a puppy. We saw her picture and we decided, well, let's get a golden doodle. They're amazing. It's almost like a poodle, but a little bit different still. And so that's what we did. And without really having the size dog before, she is 65 pounds currently. I had a smaller dog when I lived in Poland overseas. So I didn't have experience with larger dog at all. And when we got her as a puppy and she started growing, she became very, very strong. I could not believe how strong she was. And it was very difficult to just go for a walk with her. And we didn't know what to do. And I thought maybe I should find a trainer. Maybe I should find an expert, actually, someone who will help us. Because I was afraid of really taking her for walks with the collar. Really, she was pulling. So it's like you can damage the neck. I was really afraid. So I finally found a trainer, and she was very nice. She was able to come to our house, and she had a special harness called Gentle Leader. And she just basically told us, I think that's the only way you will be able to relatively easily go for a walk with her. And the harness doesn't do any harm. It's just a different way of applying pressure. All those collars and harnesses apply some kind of pressure, but this harness is a little bit different. And we tried it around our house, and before I knew, she was walking by my side. And it also became a little bit easier with this harness to actually start training her a little bit, like sit, Carmel this or that. And that's really how it started. And then the trainer said, I think you should really do a little bit more training. So maybe sign up. I actually am a trainer having classes right now. So that's what we did, obedience training with her. And we just saw every time we went for training and then doing some practice at home that she was getting better and better. And also our trainer saw potential in her. She's an awesome dog. With just some training, she can be an awesome therapy dog. And we just started really getting interested in this aspect. Well, yeah, why not to have her as a therapy dog? Maybe she can help children in school, because I was already thinking as an educator, right? Why not? I heard something about it. And that's really how it started. So almost accidentally, that wasn't our intention. Some people go with the idea of dog therapy first, and then they're looking into selecting puppies that would be suitable for this, or a rescue dog, especially maybe adult's dog, because you can already see their demeanor. And some of them, rescue dogs, can be excellent therapy dogs as well. So it depends how you go about it. But we went about it without we just wanted a family dog, basically. But now when I think about this wasn't an accident. It looked like an accident, but it was meant to happen, because this is just my passion right now, and something that I teach my students about. So it is not accidental right now. Once a certain amount of time passes, then you see that accidental things were not accidental.
Oh, such a good point. I fully agree. Yep. Yes. The open door, or the next opportunity, and the next opportunity.
Exactly. Because as a college professor, we publish articles, we have to do research, but I never thought about writing a book. Never had this idea, never had this desire. That's it. But doing this therapy work led me to actually starting this book writing process, all because of dog therapy, not because of anything else I've done in my life. So that kind of
amazing.
Amazing.
I love it. Yeah. And I have seen a picture of your dog, and she is adorable. So
she is. I can't deny it. I mean, every dog is amazing, but it's just, there's something about them, their fur, their faces. It's just really, kids they just never want us to leave the classroom when we come in.
That's great. I love it. It. So tell us a little bit about what your dog does and how this works in a classroom setting with children.
Yes. So I would say there are two sort of phases of what my dog does. Before we started innovation, we did certain things, such as, depending on the classroom we work with, you can do different things. It's just a matter of collaboration with the teacher and figuring out what would work within the constraints of what we are obligated to pay attention to as therapy dog handlers who are certified. So we did something that worked in the classrooms we visited, which is just walking around the classroom when kids were learning math, social studies, or anything like that. It doesn't really matter what they were learning. They were sitting in their little desks and doing the work. Teacher was teaching, and I was just walking with Carmel around the classroom. And as we approached desk with the child had an opportunity to pet Carmel, or even whisper something to her. And then we go to another student, and that's how it really went. And the teaching was really not stopped. Teaching was going on, and we were doing this sort of like a tour around the classroom, and it worked every time. In some of these classrooms, we never changed what we did. We always did the same thing. And when I was working on one of my books and had an opportunity to interview teachers, I asked at that time, you don't think it was ever like disruptive or anything like that? And she says, no, it was the opposite. And that teacher says, this classroom was kind of rambunctious and always kind of loud, and it wasn't easy time to manage these children. But when you came in with Carmel, they were like transformed.
Wow.
I didn't realize it at all. I just came in the classroom as a therapy dog team. You come in, you do your thing, and then you leave, and the teaching is happening, and you don't really have so much time to talk with the teacher. But during those interviews, I had a chance to really talk to them more. In another class, it was with special education kids. Children were like anywhere from like middle school level and high school level. It was just little group, and we did something different. I would allow them to walk Carmel in the hallway. So I would have a leash, and I would bring another extra leash, and they would hold the leash, and that would give them like a really cool feeling of responsibility literally, I'm walking Carmel, right? In the hallway, they would talk to other people they met in the hallway. That was really cool. Like 1 or 2 kids, depending on how they also behaved, it was a reward from the teacher too. They used this opportunity, which I think is perfectly fine. And they always wanted to walk her. Like, can I walk her today? can I be the one? And sometimes this teacher, I remember also at the beginning when we came in, he kind of stopped the teaching for a while, and it was like 5 or 10 minutes when we just talk about anything. They were petting Carmel. We were talking about their lives and what they learned. It was just this cool moment that was not formal. And there was a girl who was also afraid of dogs too. So I had to be a little bit careful. But eventually, slowly, she started touching Carmel and she overcame the fear of dogs. So that was very nice.
That's
and
great.
Then slowly, exactly, with one of the teachers I work with, we started thinking about what we can do more with dog therapy with Carmel, how we can include her more in learning, like sort of how can we make her a better, more intensive part of curriculum. And we started it very slowly. There was a new classroom, and again, patting. Carmel's walking around the classroom. They have a chance to pet her. Sometimes the teacher gave him like 5 minutes where I would go on the carpet and several of them would come around, pet her, interacted with her. So some teachers would be willing to give those 5 extra minutes to just like pure interaction without even like teaching so much. So it depends,
Yeah.
really. It depends what works with the teacher too. But then we started slowly thinking of something else, like how can we make, they can do writing about Carmel. They can learn from her what it means to be kind and apply it to themselves and write about it. Then what happened is I started reading one of these books that I wrote about how we became a therapy dog team. And I was doing visualization with the kids. The teacher let me become the teacher a little bit, but it wasn't that I was the teacher for the kids. I was their friend. I was Carmel's mom, their friend.
Yes.
Brings Carmel to the classroom. I'm not the teacher. And I tell them about the book I wrote, and I read the book to them, and they visualize different scenes. And because it's all about Carmel, they just like love it. They want to visualize. They want to talk about it. And that's really what it was. This sort of like connection community that we created. And then eventually they said, we want to write books too. And these kids were, a lot of them were very low level as far as the reading after COVID and all that. They were in the second.
Yes.
They wouldn't even write a sentence. And no matter what teacher did, it was really not possible to make them write. Very difficult. And but with Carmel, we had a child who didn't write a sentence saying, I want to write a book. I want to be an author when I grow up. Or kids say, I want to write 1,000 books in the future. They were all of a sudden making up these life goals and writing their books. And the books they created were their own autobiographies. And these books have table of contents, and this is second grade chapters and things like that. And they were never bored with the process. So that was amazing. And then the following year, and that's what I did the last year, school year, the collaborating teacher switched from classroom to teaching small groups of kids math. And these kids have just trouble with learning math. They were weak at math. So they ended up in those groups, remedial groups, so-called. And that's what we were thinking at that time. I remember before the school year started last year, we were thinking, how are we going to incorporate Carmel in math? What are we going to do for math? We had no idea. But then we are kind of two crazy ladies a little bit who like each other.
That's the best way. That's the best way.
That's how you come up with ideas. And we were thinking, well, come on, we gotta figure out something, right? Of course we will. So we started slowly figuring out those things. And one of the activities I remember we did was really cool. I brought some of the dog food that I use for Carmel, and kids use these pieces of kibbles as manipulators for addition, subtraction, all this kind of.
Right.
They really loved it. And we could talk about other things and what dogs eat, and not only. And then it really expanded into all kinds of games and even hide and seek, and even kids coming up with the ideas what they can do with Carmel. And really our imagination, both on my part and the teacher's part, we, let's say, see that Carmel wags her tail when the child shows her the answer. So we are saying, well, you see, that means you got the good answer. You got the right answer. And they just like so excited about it. And those kids were coming to the math group with a different attitude. They just loved it. And you could see how much effort they put in trying to get a good answer. Their emotion on their faces, it was like, it went from from math as something that's terrible and almost like a torture, right? It can be, right? If you have trouble with understanding something, they were excited about math. They were excited, and the excitement was showing on their face. So that's what we were doing the last school year. So that's the main innovation, just trying to involve more dog more into classroom activities. So it's not so much walking around when kids learn, but making the dog part of actually learning somehow.
Yes.
And all that's required is just some imagination, creativity, and trying, because you don't know how it's going to work. All you need to do is try. And that's where the magic happens, in trying. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, it sounds like in some of these new things that you're trying, that's probably young elementary school. Is that the typical age where you've been doing that?
That's yes. So I definitely work with the teachers who are interested in this innovation, who are trying these new things. But these activities really can be adopted in upper grades. And I went with Carmel to middle school too and high school. So you just have to a little bit modify some of these activities, but there's no problem with that. It's just a matter of working with the teacher, trying, and to see how that would work, really.
Yes. Yes.
That's all it is. Yeah.
And it's funny that I'm thinking this. I'm not even sure that I told you originally that I used to be a teacher. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I don't think I know that.
So this is even more fascinating to me. And it's funny to me that I didn't mention it, but I taught high school for 12 years. Wow. And it has been 7 years since then that I've been off doing other things. But I certainly, as you're explaining this, I'm thinking how even just something different, something novel is such a change for kids, and the attitude that they have about whatever's going on in the room is also so powerful. Is it the dog? Is it that it's just something new? Is it all of those things together? Or is it that it makes them happy? What would you say?
I think that from what I can see is when you see the classroom without the dog, it's just desk. It used to be blackboard, then it's whiteboard, smartboard, and all these kind of things. They all kind of look the same, right? And there's desks, and there's chairs, and there's kids sitting, and there's teachers teaching. There is no really so much of an aspect of like nature of the world that's outside of the classroom. So when the dog comes in, it's almost like something magic happens. The classroom connects with the world and with the nature somehow. And the kids, and there's some other aspects, of course. The dog is funny. It moves, it wags the tail, and all of a sudden everybody's not really so much thinking about the stress, or I have to do this homework, I have to do this math. It's tough, it's difficult, but you are happier because this lively creature comes in, wags the tail, and it changes, lowers the stress, changes just everything. And what's interesting, one of the children in that math group has like a special behavioral plan. He basically hits children. In second grade, he just hits other kids. So you can't really even do the teaching. You have to first like implement those steps of that behavioral plan to make teaching possible. So he's not going to hit anybody. But when Carmel came in, there was never any need for this behavioral plan. He was attentive. He was ready to learn with Carmel. He was even creative, thinking of different ideas. And always, are we going to do hide and seek with Carmel? Almost amazing thing, this nature, like I said, that the world enters the classroom, and the dog can have the power to become almost like a teacher, because kids develop the love for the dog. So you can teach anything, so to speak, using the dog, because when they love the dog, they will learn anything from the dog. It's like how to behave, how to be kind, because dog is kind, because dog behaves. So we need to do that too. Carmel is teaching us what to do. We cannot be too loud. We cannot misbehave, because this is not, Carmel's not going to like it.
Yes.
So this attachment, love aspect, there's a lot of layers, I think.
I love everything you're saying. It's really quite fascinating, because getting out in nature, even if whether we're talking about animals or trees or any of that, it does change the mood. Yes. And so I totally see that having an animal come in, that makes so much sense. Absolutely. part of healthy living is gut health. So much of our hormones, digestion, and nutrition centers around a healthy gut. Every morning, I use a green gut glow drink to make sure that my brain, skin, nails, hair, and gut are at their best, and to make sure that I get more veggies than I would eat otherwise. I felt a difference for sure. Grab yours or have a look at www.bit.ly/green gut glow plus, or just find it in the show notes. And then I think that kids definitely, they learn better and maybe even just feel better about themselves when they
Yes.
know that they're around people who care. And I guess that extends to the dog
Yeah,
because, of course,
caring.
dogs are great lovers, right? They love
They
everyone and they
care.
feel it. Yeah.
And they feel that the dog cares about them. So that's a big piece. So there's definitely several layers, but they all just interact. And then there is something special that happens like that. And I was trying to figure out these things too. Like, why is this happening?
Yes.
What's going
Yes.
on?
Yes, it's fascinating. Now, when did you, has it been a few years that you've been doing this?
So we've been doing the visit since 2018. As far as innovation goes, that would be 2 years. We've been doing something
Okay.
innovative for 2 years. Yes. The first year was more writing, some other activities slowly, and then it developed into this book writing project, and not only. And then the next year was math. The whole year was math activities with different groups of children. Yeah. But all younger ones, because just I work full time as a college professor. I cannot go to therapy visits daily to
Right.
many classrooms. But what I can do is, if there are more teachers who are interested in this, I can always just connect people with therapy dog teams from my
Yes.
organization, so I can make things happen. I just cannot go with my dog everywhere. It's just not possible. I would love to, but
Right. And what a cool outcome for people who are hearing this podcast. If there are people out there who think, hey, my dog could do that, I would love to do that. And we find
Yes.
more. Yeah.
Yes, and I would always encourage everyone to try. And I mean, even if it doesn't work out, because the dog has to have a certain demeanor to become therapy dog. But if it doesn't work out, then all the trainings you do, they're going to help the dog in becoming a better, more obedient. It's just more fun to be around, really, when they have some more extensive training. It really helps a lot.
Yeah. It really is fascinating what animals can do in terms of caring for people.
Absolutely amazing. If we just willing to open ourselves and try to experiment a little bit, teachers are, especially young teachers, they stressed out in today's environment. And we all know after COVID,
Yes.
they also stressed out about making sure that the curriculum is covered. But if the teacher is willing to kind of like, well, let's see what happens, let's try it. Sometimes letting a little bit of chaos into teaching can bring results that are so unexpected and so great, but you have to be willing to try, and you know it as a teacher.
Yes.
And that's what I try to teach my current and future teachers. We just, all you do is really try. I mean, you don't know how this is going to work out, but you need to experiment as a teacher. You can't just have a bag of tricks and kind of hoping it's going to always work the same way.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like this episode is going to become kind of our little love letter to teachers, because oh my goodness, teaching is a powerful and massively stressful career.
It really is. Yeah.
It really is. And I think sometimes teachers maybe feel like, I don't know if I can take a day out of what I need to be doing with the curriculum to
Yes.
try something different. And at the same time, over the long term, in hindsight, whenever I felt that way, I got stressed about snow days or whatever it was, I always realized it always works out. You can always find the time for the important things.
It does. And you don't have to really experiment a lot with this. You can just start at a small scale just by inviting therapy dog team, seeing how it goes, right? And then slowly you can just try a little bit of, as a teacher, you are the boss. The dog therapy team is not going to tell you what to do just because they want to innovate or something like that. But it's really is also about collaboration.
Yes.
We know that teachers collaborate with each other, right? There's co-teaching, but why can't teachers collaborate a little bit more with the therapy dog teams? There is so much potential.
Right,
And that's all we need to do, and it's possible. It's just something really interesting with when the therapy dog handler just teaches even something simple, and kids just all of a sudden, this is not the teacher, this is our friend, and she's bringing our beloved dog, and they like learn a little bit differently from a person they don't perceive as teacher. It's totally different. That was one of the aspects too that we've seen. But every collaboration, innovation will look a little bit differently because again, depends on what works with the classroom, what works with the teacher. What is teacher willing to try to, right, to experiment with, but even a little bit more can make a huge difference.
Yes, it's really fascinating. Now, over the past few years, obviously we've gone through the pandemic and online school and all of this. Have you seen particular differences in kids, in students that have been happening over these years?
We've seen differences in our college population. We've seen students are a little bit more vulnerable. They have more needs. So, and we all know about mental health and what's happening. So we've seen more needs, definitely. So these things have changed, and it's more challenging to also serve this population for sure, because we have to have this understanding when we are also as college professors not the same probably anymore, because pandemic affected everyone, not just our students.
Good
to
point.
be honest, right? We are all affected. But I don't work as an elementary teacher anymore, but I working with the collaborating teacher, I've seen and I've learned from her that there are more demands in terms of anxiety in smallest children and also in terms of academics. She says to me, I remember, I haven't seen kids to be that needy as far as their writing skills, and it was happening during COVID and after. So there are more needs, more anxiety that somehow need to be addressed, but I think it's just school psychologists are very important here and they have an important role. But again, what are you going to do to lower anxiety with smaller children? And if you don't do anything, they're not going to be able to learn. So what are you going to do? Well, the simplest thing is to bring a dog.
Right, right. And different kids respond, of course, to different things in a different way. So I agree. It seems like something simple that would be worth a try, certainly.
Yes, it could be another type of animal for sure. There are smaller pets. I mean, as far as the therapy animals, there are not many organizations that certify other therapy animals, but I've seen therapy cats and therapy rabbits too. But mostly it's going to be dogs, yes.
Right. And as you say that, I can see how maybe petting even a rabbit or something, just being able to pet the animal, that could be soothing and more fun and calming. Absolutely.
Yes, and there's so much learning because the children learn a lot about the dogs, how to take care of the dog, what dogs eat. I remember my dog was also doing agility at this time, so we were and because she went through all those trainings, they were learning about how dog also has some learning to do. It's not just kids who learn. So they were learning, well, Carmel also does learning and she goes to school.
Oh, how cool. Yes.
Yeah. So there was a lot of learning about the dog from the dog. And even the teacher noticed that children who would like not work with each other, this classroom edition of my dog just like created a better community. Kids who would not work with each other, all of a sudden were working together. Like this dog has this incredible effect.
Yes.
On the community. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And before really talking to you about this and diving into this, the only service dogs that I was familiar with in schools is I had seen certain students who maybe had their own personal therapy dog.
So that would be a service dog, right?
Yes. Not, I guess, service dog, not therapy dog, maybe. I had seen that before, and I know that can be a powerful thing as well. And I love this idea that it can be a whole group also.
Exactly. So when it's a whole group, then would be the therapy dog. But if a child has a personal dog that helps in something, then it would be a service dog. And it could be a variety of tasks that these dogs can do. They can alert to allergies. They can detect like a coming seizure or things like that are absolutely amazing. So my dog is a therapy dog. She's not doing these kind of tasks.
Yes.
But she is providing a lot of interaction with so many children. That's why certification is so important here, because the dog is in contact with many people, right?
Yes.
So it needs to be, there are some requirements that needs to be met, that need to be met. Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this and thinking, oh, my dog might be good for this, what kind of temperament does the dog really need to have?
The dog needs to be really willing to, or it needs to like people. So that's for
For
sure.
sure.
It needs to be willing to be touched. Kids pet Carmel, touch her on her head, on her ears, pretty much almost anywhere. We teach them you can't pull her tail and things like that, especially smaller children. So we need to watch for that. But they are touching her because a part of therapy is experiencing lower stress due to touching something furry and soft, because that's how her fur is. So the dog needs to be okay with this touch and needs to really actually like it, because it's just kind of two-way street. Kids have some benefits, but the dog needs to be okay with that too. So my dog loves to be touched and craves this kind of attention and touching. So we laughing because sometimes when there is someone coming to our house and they're just not used to Carmel, like not used to dog liking to be touched, and then she wants to approach them, she wants to be petted, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, but can you just like go, Carmel? I'm okay. I'm like, well, that's what happens when you have a therapy dog around. She loves to be touched and she thinks that's what needs to be done.
Yes.
She will approach you and she will wait for you to touch her we teach kids what is the appropriate kind of touch as far as the dog goes. So that's a very, very important demeanor. And I would say any kind of other training they have to be obedient to is kind of secondary, because you can teach it. But as far as demeanor, that is something that is not necessarily possible to teach.
Yes, agreed. And I'm thinking of dogs that I know and the dogs that I grew up with. And you're right, some dogs kind of automatically really love that and almost would put up with anything. And others just don't. They don't have that personality.
No, some don't like children, for instance. So yeah, poodles, they can be great therapy dogs. But I know a poodle that absolutely does not like children. And it's okay. And this poodle is not a therapy dog. So this part is a little bit tricky. And for people to think about, I would like to be a therapy dog handler, because there's more and more interest in this area, and I can see, but and people ask for this advice with puppies. Well, you don't know how it's going to work unless you maybe reach out to a breeder who has history and tradition of breeding certain lines of dogs, therapy dogs, and there's more likelihood that it's going to be a good candidate. Golden retrievers are often very good therapy dogs. So I see many people have success with that, but with rescue dogs, probably going with the puppy rescue is not a best idea. Maybe adult rescue dog, you can see the disposition already.
Yes.
If somebody has this idea, I want a dog to be a therapy dog, and I don't have a dog yet, you have to kind of think strategically how you go about finding the dog.
Yes, that makes sense. And you went through the organization Therapy Dogs International.
Right.
Do they have location? Well, they're called international, so I assume so, but do they have locations all over the place that people could find?
They do. They have the website, so everybody can just kind of like Google their good name, Therapy Dogs International, and there's all kinds of information on the website. They might not have, they call Therapy Dogs International chapters in every state. I'm not sure about that. It's almost like each therapy dog organization, here is my Carmel, has a little bit of like they are in certain regions more present than in other regions, I think. But Therapy Dogs International is a pretty large organization, old, might be even the oldest one, to be honest. And they have chapters, so then it's possible to reach out to a chapter director and obtain information, or just directly. There is another one, Association of Therapy Dogs, and that's ATD, I think, and they are very well known too. I think it's really good to take the training for therapy dogs and then get certified, but then you have to kind of know which organization actually provides a training like that. And you can train yourself even, and then you just kind of go for a test. But it's harder. We did the training 8 weeks, and then at the end of the training, a tester came from Therapy Dogs International, who was a person we never met before, and she was the one who was telling us, do this, do that, and she was testing us.
Okay.
That's how it went. But it helped that this was at the end of the training that we did, and we knew what to practice in addition to the classes, because classes were just not enough. You had to do the work, homework you have to do.
Isn't that always the case? There's
It
always
always
homework.
is. Even with the dog training, there's always homework. Class was never enough. No.
Well,
Yeah.
practice is good. Practice is
Yeah,
good.
exactly. It was really good. It was really good. We were so excited. It was like, oh, Carmel has to practice this more because she's not good at this. It was just like having a kid who has to do some more learning. We were just very excited about it, and it was like a family affair, really.
Yes, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And I would say if teachers are listening, it sounds like maybe these organizations would be interesting for teachers to reach out to and just find out more, or reaching out to you, of course, as well.
Of course, I'm always willing to, if anybody would like to DM me on Instagram. I always love these kind of interactions. I'm not a classroom teacher at this point, but I used to be, and I know what it is like to teach and having to attend to all the needs of the children. So I've been there, and I know it's not easy, but I also know it's possible to try a little bit of innovation too. Especially, it really can be with no cost. All you need to do is just kind of find a therapy dog team who would be willing to come, right, and do something with them. I only went once a week to this classroom for like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. That's all it was.
Wow.
That's all it was. And it made a big difference for kids. So the teachers don't have to have the therapy dog team every day to make a difference at all. So think about it. Once a week, 40 minutes, right? We can probably try this.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I didn't think to ask how much time you had spent in any particular classroom. And that just really shows how powerful even a short amount of time with a therapy dog could really be for kids.
Yes, and kids were waiting. They knew exactly what it would be when I would come in, what time. So I remember when something happened, some kind of switcheroo with the schedule, and I had to switch or something happened, and I came in, let's say on Thursday as opposed to Wednesday. They would be notified by the teacher, but they said, oh, because we were so worried because you always come on Wednesday, but you were not here yesterday. They just knew it, and I would always hear that from them. I had to explain what happened.
Yes, kids love the routine, right? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, this has been really enlightening for me, which means I'm sure it has been enlightening for people who are listening. So I really appreciate it.
That would be great.
Yes, there's one question that I always ask all my guests, and that is about the song. So we have for the podcast a Spotify playlist for just kind of lifting our mood, raising our vibration. Sure. So if you had to pick your favorite song when you kind of need a little mood lift, what would you say?
So there is this one song, and I discovered it this year. It was a couple of months ago, and I actually even put it under my profile picture on Facebook. And I never did that before, but I put that one.
Wow.
But when I saw your question about the song, I'm like, look at that.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
So that is by Anastasia, and the title is Take This Chance.
Ooh,
take this chance. And those words go like that. I'm going to take this chance to do something I have never tried.
I love it.
That really works perfectly with what I've done so far. I think I always wanted to do things I never tried before, or maybe even others didn't try before. And this is kind of an example with the dog therapy, trying to do something more with this that we currently are doing and hear about. And I like to hear about these words and even any other things that I can try in life. These songs remind me that if I think about something new that I could try, then maybe I should try.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Absolutely. And I am so excited to go find that song because I'm not familiar with it. So
yeah, the title is You're Welcome. So all you need to do is just go by Take This Chance, and it's by Anastasia.
I will, and I will make sure it gets on the playlist so that everybody else can hear it as well. That's
exactly.
Wonderful.
Everybody else can benefit too.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna hide the secret.
That's right. That's the whole point of why we're here. Absolutely. Yeah. So Well, let me wrap up by saying, listeners, make sure to connect with Barb, and you'll see her links on the show notes. And you're on Instagram as Dr. Barb Educator.
Right, with
And
dots after.
yes,
All
dots
right.
between.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have a website as well, which I will put in the show notes, and find her new book. If this resonated with you, whether you're a parent or you're a dog owner or you're a wannabe dog owner or you're a teacher, I just love the concept that even something that could be fun and doesn't have to take 40 hours a week to do can
Oh,
make a huge difference
yeah.
in people's mindset and mental health and just mood during the day, even at a young age. I just love that. And so I hope that more of it keeps happening.
Exactly. That's why I'm hearing this. That's why I'm trying to spread awareness about it, seeing how powerful it can be for anybody, including teachers, because they love when my dogs come in. When my dog comes, it's not just, it's for children, but not only. Everybody is just benefiting from interacting. Even in the hallway, we sometimes have a lot of interactions in the hallway with other children, with other teachers. So that is a part of that too. Not only a scheduled visit, but also our interactions with people in the hallway too. Impromptu.
I love it. I could see when I was teaching, if there was a dog out in the
Yeah.
hallway, it would have been a big, exciting thing that everybody would have loved.
I think you, the kind of person, you'd be right away interested in what is going on here. I want
Yes.
to pet this doggy.
That's absolutely true. And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
in schools. I love it. I love it.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been
Thank
really great.
you. I really appreciate it. And I'm so honored to be on your podcast, and especially hearing that you're a teacher, which is awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody who is going to listen to it. And really, this is, I think it's kind of a light topic, but it's very serious too, because we all in the business of trying to make things better for kids, aren't we?
Yes,
right? Not
yes.
just teachers, not just parents, but the whole nation is always how to make education better, what to do. Well, guess what? There is some simple things we actually can do.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be very expensive program. Done a lot of these in the past.
Yes, I love it. And that's such a good point. And starting early with things that really are impactful in this way, that's a great lesson for kids too. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode. OMG, I would be so honored if you would take a moment, leave a rating, and leave a review. Let's get this message out further into the world. Make sure you've subscribed as well, and why not grab a screenshot and share it on your social media. Now it's time to head down to the show notes and see the resources I mentioned. Go find what you love.